You studied English for 10 years. You passed exams, got the certificates, maybe even bragged about your grammar. But then someone said, "Hey, how are you?" And your brain lit on fire. Welcome to Monday English Podcast, where your good grades don't save you, but your real voice might. This episode is for every student who worked hard, followed the rules, and still can't order a sandwich without panic. And yes, we see you, the silent A+ student who freezes at the drive-thru. Let's be honest. English classes gave you hope and then left you for dead at the airport. They taught you beautiful sentences like, "My uncle is a bank clerk," but forgot to teach you how to say, "Where's the bathroom?" in less than a minute. You memorized words like environmental sustainability, but can't say "I'm hungry" without stuttering. Maybe the problem isn't that you're lazy. Maybe the system just sucked. Today, we're taking a hard look at why English classes made you worse. First, we'll expose how textbook English is a zombie language. Then we'll tackle the fluency killer, learn but never speak. And finally, we'll break down how your class prepared you for nothing. Spoiler alert, passing the TOEIC does not mean you can survive a phone call in English. Sorry, this episode isn't just a roast. Okay, it is a roast, but it's also a reset. We'll show you what actually works, what actually helps, what actually gets your mouth moving, not just your pen. So if you're still clutching your grammar book like it's a holy text, you might want to put it down. And if you're still proud of that 9.0 reading score, great. Now, try reading a menu out loud without sweating. Let's begin. You ever walk into a room, someone says hi, and your brain goes, "Error 404, language not found?" Yeah, that. You've spent years learning English in a classroom. You sat at your desk. You filled out worksheets. You practiced conversations like, "Good morning, Mrs. Smith. How are you today?" And for a moment, it felt real. Like maybe you were learning something useful. But then real life happened. You met a tourist, or moved abroad, or watched a movie without subtitles, and suddenly your English didn't show up. It hid. It choked. It left you standing there like a confused robot with a dusty grammar chip. Why? Because textbook English is a zombie language. It walks, it talks, but it's dead inside. Let's start with the classics. Where is the library? Honestly, when was the last time you asked that? Never? Thought so. And don't get me started on what's your favorite subject. Nobody talks like that outside of school. These sentences were made for tests, not life. They're outdated, which means they're old and not useful anymore, like flip phones. You know what people actually say? "Hey, got Wi-Fi?" Or "You seen a Starbucks around here?" But no textbook ever taught you that. And then there's the tone. Textbook English is stiff. That means it feels too formal or fake. Think of someone smiling at you like they just bit a lemon. That's stiff. Real people don't say, "Shall we go to the cinema at 7 o'clock? They say, "Want to see a movie later?" If your English sounds too perfect, too polished, it doesn't sound real. It sounds like a robot trying to flirt. Unsettling. But here's the big trap. School taught you to be correct, not natural. And natural means how people really talk. Short sentences, casual words, lazy pronunciation. You practiced, "Would you like a cup of tea?" But your new friend just said, "Want to grab coffee?" And now you're lost. You know the words, but not the vibe. And vibe matters. Let's talk about "I am fine, thank you." Oh, that sentence. The Frankenstein of English class. No one says that unless they're lying, hiding a panic attack, or pretending to be an AI assistant. In real life, people say, "Good, you?" or just, not bad. "I am fine, thank you," makes you sound like a polite ghost from 1997. Now, some of you might be thinking, "But I practiced all those dialogues." Great. You practiced fake conversations with fake people using fake emotions. That's why you can't survive a real one. Practicing what is your hobby in class is not the same as chatting about your favorite Netflix show over lunch. It's like training to fight using slow motion ballet. Beautiful. Useless. And let's not forget the strangest part. You learned more about frogs and factories than about your own daily life. Most textbooks think you spend your weekends at science museums or writing postcards. Really? When's the last time you used the word postcard? Or had to describe a frog's life cycle in English? Yeah, never. Here's a new word for today. Shortcut. A shortcut is a faster, easier way to do something. In real English, people use shortcuts all the time. They say gonna instead of going to, lemme instead of let me, and wanna instead of want to. If your ears aren't used to hearing these, you'll feel lost, even if you understand grammar. English in the wild is messy. It's fast. It interrupts itself. And you need to learn the real flow, not just the clean, slow version in class. Still not convinced? Let's try this. Say these 2 sentences out loud. Hello, my name is John. I live in New York. Now say, hey, I'm John. I'm from New York. Which one feels more like you? Which one would you actually use? If you chose the second, good. You're starting to sound human. Now here comes your excuse. But my teacher said we have to speak correctly. Of course they did. They were following a book older than most of your socks. Here's the reality check. No one in the real world will stop you to say, excuse me, that's a grammar mistake. Most people won't even notice or care. They just want to understand you. If your English is weird but clear, congrats. You win. So here's your tiny action task. Open your old textbook. Pick 3 sentences. Now rewrite them the way you would actually say them in a real conversation. Make them less perfect, more alive, more you. Then say them out loud. And if you're ready to go deeper into why you know English but still can't speak it, well, don't worry. That disaster is waiting in segment 2. Let's talk about how school trained you to learn quietly and speak never. See you there. You sit in front of a mirror. You look at yourself and say, what's your name? Your brain says, easy. You write it down perfectly. My name is Alex. Great. Now try saying it to a real person, a stranger, in a loud cafe, with music playing and people talking. Suddenly your mouth forgets how to move. You freeze. Your hands sweat. Your voice disappears. Why? Because school trained you to write English, not speak it. And now, when it's time to talk, your mouth feels like it's locked shut. That's not an accident. That's the result of years of silent learning. Let's get this clear. Most schools care more about your test score than your real voice. You spend hours filling in blanks, but never finish a real conversation. You write perfect paragraphs, but can't say, I'll have the chicken sandwich without panicking. That's a problem. Speaking is not just writing out loud. It's a separate skill. And skill means something you learn by doing, like riding a bike or dancing. You can't learn it by watching others. You have to do it. You have to move your mouth out loud, often. But you didn't. You became a passive learner. That means you received information without using it. Like watching someone cook and thinking, cool, I'm a chef now. No, you're just hungry with opinions. You watched videos. You read books. You maybe even listened to podcasts. Hello, but you didn't speak. You didn't repeat. You didn't embarrass yourself. And that's the problem. Because real progress is noisy, messy, awkward, and completely necessary. Now maybe you think you understand everything but just can't speak. Cute. That's like saying, I know how to swim. I've just never touched water. You don't know it. You recognize it. And those are not the same. Recognition is when you see or hear something and think, oh yeah, I've seen that word before. But can you use it without crying inside? That's the question. You froze because you never practiced speaking in a real way. Maybe you read your sentences in class once a week. Maybe you whispered them when the teacher looked at you, but you never used English to express yourself. You never told a joke, never asked for help, never told someone they were wrong. So now when you need to speak up in life, you panic because your mouth is out of shape. It hasn't trained. Here's a new word: freeze. It means you can't move or speak because you're scared or shocked. He froze on stage means he couldn't talk. That's you. Every time someone says, "Excuse me," and you think, "Oh no, it's starting." Your English brain shuts down. Your native language hides. You are a confused penguin in a grocery store. Good luck. Another word, passive. It means not active. Watching is passive. Think of sitting on a couch. That's passive. Running outside, active. Speaking, also active. You don't get better at English by reading grammar rules like bedtime stories. You get better by talking. Badly, repeatedly, loudly, until your voice stops shaking. Still not convinced? Let me tell you what fluency really is. It's not perfect grammar. It's not long words. It's not sounding smart. Fluency is this. You want to say something, and the words come out. Maybe messy, maybe slow, but they come out, and people understand you. That's it. Fluency means you use English like a tool. You don't worship it. You don't fear it. You just use it, like a spoon. You don't wait until you're a spoon expert to eat soup. You just eat. But wait, your excuse is ready, right? I'm shy. I don't like talking. That's adorable. Did shyness stop you from scrolling social media for 3 hours yesterday? Didn't think so. Here's your sarcastic reality check. I understand everything. I just can't speak. Cool. And I understand basketball, but I'm not in the NBA. Want to join me on the bench? Let's fix this. Start small. Talk to your wall. Talk to your cat. Talk to your coffee. Just talk. Here's a new word. Skill. A skill is something you learn by doing. Like tying your shoes. You didn't read a manual. You tried. You failed. You cried. You tried again. Now you do it without thinking. That's what English should feel like. Not perfect. Just yours. You don't need a language partner right now. You need practice. You don't need more theory. You need noise. Your own noise. Stop waiting for a perfect moment. Start now. Today, ugly is okay. Silent is not. So here's your tiny action task. Say one thing out loud right now. Anything. A sentence, a question, a feeling. And no, whispering doesn't count. Because in the next segment, we're going deeper. You thought your class would help you survive. Turns out it just helped you pass a test. Let's talk about why your class prepared you for absolutely nothing. See you there. You passed the TOEIC. You got a high score. You smiled. Your teacher smiled. You felt proud. Then your phone rang. It was a call in English. Your smile disappeared. Your hand shook. You didn't answer. Why? Because your class didn't teach you that. It taught you how to pass a test. Not how to live. Not how to speak under pressure. Not how to survive in a real conversation when someone talks fast, uses slang, or has a strange accent. You studied the map, but you never took the trip. Let's break it down. Most English classes are designed for one thing. Exams. Not life. Not awkward cafe orders. Not helping a tourist on the street. Not talking to your boss about a problem. Your class prepared you for perfect grammar, but real life doesn't care. Real life moves fast. Real life interrupts you. Real life doesn't repeat the question slowly 3 times just because you look confused. In real life, no one says, choose the correct verb form. They just expect you to speak. Here's a new word, survival. It means basic and necessary. Survival English is what helps you in emergencies, like asking for directions, or explaining pain at a hospital, or telling your friend that your phone is dead. You didn't learn that in school. You learned how to describe a museum visit or write a postcard. Useful in 1998, maybe. Not now. And what about accent? That's how someone sounds when they speak. He has a British accent. She has an Australian accent. If your teacher always spoke slow, clear, and careful English, then of course you're lost when someone speaks fast or naturally. Your ears were trained for test listening, not real listening. And test listening is clean. Real English is not. It's full of connected sounds, dropped syllables, and weird rhythm. You weren't ready. That's not your fault. But it's your problem now. You also learned rules. So many rules. Don't use contractions in writing. Always use full sentences. Don't say ain't. Don't split infinitives. Don't end with prepositions. So much don't. But no one taught you when to break the rules. And yes, you can break them. Every fluent speaker does. Where are you at might be wrong, but people say it, and no one faints. Let's talk about fluency. Fluency means speaking easily, without too much thinking or stopping. She speaks with fluency means she talks naturally. Not perfectly, just clearly, just with confidence. You get fluency from using English, not studying it like you're preparing for the English Olympics. You don't need gold medals. You need real words in real moments. So what happened? You were trained to think fluency equals perfection. That every mistake is bad. That every wrong tense is a failure. And that belief has kept you silent. But here's the truth. You don't get fluent without mistakes. You need repetition. Saying something again and again. You need to say it wrong, then better again. Fluency isn't pretty at the start. It's not a straight line. It's ugly. It's weird. And it's 100% necessary. You were never told this in class. Your school wanted results. Measurable ones, grades, charts, certificates. And yes, that's useful for some things, like jobs or school applications. But those results don't help when your roommate knocks and says, "Hey, you got a sec?" And you freeze because you've never heard "got a sec" before. Let's be honest. If your teacher spent more time on grammar than on speaking practice, you were set up to fail. Not because they were bad, but because the system cares more about checking boxes than building voices. And your voice is what matters. Here's your excuse. Ready? But I was top of my class. Great. Can you order pizza in under 30 seconds without sweating? No? Then welcome to the club. Your grades mean nothing if you can't communicate. That's harsh, but true. Communication is the real test, and you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be understood. This next word is repetition. It means doing or saying something again. Repetition helps you learn. It's not fancy. It's just true. And that's what you need more of. Less thinking, more speaking, less perfect, more real. Repeat, 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 until your brain and mouth finally work together. So what now? Stop blaming your teacher, or your book, or your school. Start fixing it. Start small. You don't need to give a speech. You just need to talk like a person. Use English with your phone, with your dog, with your sad plant that keeps dying. Doesn't matter. Just use it. Here's your tiny action task. Record a 30-second voice note about your day. Don't prepare. Just talk. Because next, we're going to talk about something deeper. Not just what you learned, but how it made you feel. Time for some real talk. You paid money, time, and energy, and got fear in return. Let's fix that. Oh, so now you're afraid of speaking because someone might laugh? Adorable. As if the world has time to sit around judging your grammar mistakes. Newsflash, they don't. Most people are too busy thinking about their own lives to care about your past tense slip-up. And the ones who do care? The ones who mock you for trying? Those people haven't done anything brave in years. You're already ahead of them just by opening your mouth. But I get it. You didn't wake up one day scared to speak English. That fear was trained into you, slowly, quietly. You were told to be correct, not clear. You were told to wait until your English was perfect. You were taught to fear mistakes instead of use them. And over time, you stopped speaking. You started thinking too much. You started editing every word in your head before it left your mouth. And by the time the sentence was ready, the moment was gone. That's not learning. That's fear wearing a school uniform. You paid money to be told to stay quiet. You gave your time, your focus, your effort, and what you got in return was a fear of sounding wrong, a fear of being seen. That's not education. That's emotional damage with a certificate. But here's the good news. If fear was trained into you, it can be untrained. Every time you speak out loud, even badly, you teach your brain a new rule. You teach it that nothing bad happens. You speak. You survive. You grow. Yes, your English might be ugly right now. So what? It's yours. It's honest. And it gets better every time you dare to use it. You think you sound stupid? Good. That means you're trying. That means you're not stuck in your grammar notebook anymore. You're living. You're learning. You're moving forward. So here's your tiny task. Think of your most embarrassing English moment. Laugh about it. Say out loud, it was a lesson, not a failure. Now breathe. Because next, we're taking all that pain and turning it into progress. Let's rebuild your English voice. From the ground up. So here we are. You've made it through the roast. Your grammar survived, barely, but more importantly, so did your motivation. Let's not pretend it didn't hurt a little. We called out your textbook sentences, your silent learning habits, and that shiny test score you like to mention at parties. You know, the one that still couldn't save you from panic at the coffee shop. But we did all that for one reason. To help you finally move. To speak. To break the habit of waiting for permission. Because let's be real. You've waited long enough. You now know why English classes left you speechless in real life. They taught you how to pass a test, not how to order food. They trained your pen, not your mouth. They gave you rules, but forgot to tell you that fluent people break them all the time. And you thought it was your fault, but it wasn't. You were trained to fear mistakes. You were trained to sit down, be quiet, and color inside the lines. And now, when life hands you a real English moment, you freeze. Like a pop quiz you didn't study for. So let's flip the story. You don't need more grammar drills. You don't need another 10 vocabulary apps. You need to use the English you already know. Say it wrong, say it again. That's the work. That's the magic. You don't build fluency with silence. You build it with noise, with messy words, with ugly sentences, with trying. Fluency is not about perfection. It's about progress that keeps going, even when it's clumsy. And don't give me that favorite excuse, I'll start when I'm ready. You've been getting ready for 10 years. Are you training for English or running a marathon in slow motion? Here's the truth. No one ever feels ready. Not even native speakers. So stop waiting for some magic confidence to fall from the sky. Start now with what you've got. Your broken sentence today is stronger than your perfect silence tomorrow. Here's your final task. Just one sentence. Speak it out loud. Right now, it can be anything. What you ate, what you feel, what you want. One sentence. That's your win for today. If this episode gave you a push or made you laugh at your own English trauma, share it. Someone out there is stuck just like you. Maybe worse. Send them this episode. Help them feel seen. And if that person is you, then don't disappear. Come back next week. Monday English Podcast will still be here. Still roasting your grammar, still cheering for your ugly progress. Still reminding you that you don't need to be perfect. You just need to speak. And you already did.